Now to a conversation with a Multnomah County commissioner that's sure to raise the hackles of some and might even get you up off the couch. We're going to talk with Sharon Meieran about homelessness. Meieran is actually Dr. Meieran, an emergency room doc who ran for county commission and got elected 6 years ago. She ran for county chair this past November and lost, but she's still a commissioner. Her term will end in December of 2024. She has more degrees than a thermometer, degrees in English and economics, and also a law degree. All that before going to medical school and getting a medical degree. So yeah, she has a lot of brain power. And she's served on several boards focused on medicine, opioid abuse, and others. I wanted to talk with her because of this. It's an editorial that she wrote recently in the Oregonian. It was published in late April. In it, she celebrates the hiring of Dan Field as the new director for the Joint Office of Homeless Services. But she also reveals with stunning clarity how messed up the effort to solve the homeless problem is right now. I think it's important that you know her thoughts because this is an issue that is sucking up literally hundreds of millions of dollars right now in our area each year. Most of it, if not all of it, comes from your tax money. The human misery by both the people living unsheltered and their sheltered neighbors is awful for everyone, and it needs to end. But this conversation reveals how far we are from even being organized to tackle the problem. Okay, let's get into it. Meieran's first statement is that there's no central government structure overseeing our effort to end homelessness.
That is correct.
How can that be?
That is a question that I ask frequently and put it in the op-ed because what I've heard often is people saying that I don't know what the plan is, it's not communicated well, and sort of foisting it onto communication. But the reality is there's actually no plan, no overarching plan, and that is because there's no cohesive, united governing body that is creating a plan.
How will we ever know if we're making progress if there's no coordination and no plan?
That is something that is a question I've been raising for quite a few years now, and that I really wanted to highlight in the op-ed, because we truly need outrage. We need pushing of our city and county now that we have new leadership at the county, now that we have a new director of Joint Office of Homeless Services. We have an opportunity to maybe reset, put these pieces together. But until now, we haven't had the structure, the political will to combine forces, unite, and create a common plan.
Is it because the county's going over here doing one thing, the city's over here, there's nonprofits, Lord knows doing what?
It's a combination of all of those things. I mean, I have been trying to figure that out since I came to the county. And at first...
6 years ago, right?
6 years ago, at first I thought there was a governing body. And then I thought the Joint Office of Homelessness was an actual joint Office of Homelessness between the city and county. What I learned over time as I peeled back layers of the onion was that the joint office is actually now a county department exclusively, with no oversight or governance by the city. And so the city, we have an agreement. The city puts a whole bunch of money into the joint office. They offer their ideas and try to work with the leadership of the county to see if their ideas can be implemented, but they have no say. They don't have the power over the joint office. And so for the 6 years prior to our former chair leaving, there's not been that desire to coordinate and collaborate. And it's not been a joint office. It has been the chair leading the joint office and directing all of that.
Holy cow. I think a lot of us believe there is some clear picture of what needs to happen and who's going to do it. But Meieran, with her inside perspective, is telling us, nope, that's not the case at all, which is stunning to me since the County Joint Office of Homeless Services has been funded with more than $738 million since it got rolling back in 2017. And to that proposed budget for next year, add to that $265 million. If they get all of that money, taxpayers will have spent $1 billion on the homeless issue in 7 years in Multnomah County. And we're only talking about the money running through the Joint Office of Homeless Services.
So going back to your points, no centralized government structure, there's no coordinated plan. I think that's going to be a surprise to a lot of people. There's no plan?
There's no plan. And so...
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
I mean, I find it hard to believe. It can't be that there's no plan. There's probably a million individual plans that aren't all working together.
There are a million individual pieces of plans. That's part of the problem as well, that we get caught up by I mean local government, and then, frankly, in the media, once we come, we have one little tiny piece of one big part of a plan, it sort of sucks all the air out of the room. It takes all the attention. So, for example, the mayor's concept of the large, campsites or whatever they're called right now, yeah, can that be part of a cohesive, larger plan to address homelessness? Absolutely. But while we're busy arguing about that, it's like, what are we doing about the big pillars? Prevention, shelter writ large, which is, has to be a whole continuum, not just one little idea. Permanent housing, and how are we tying all those together? There is nothing that ties them together. And by focusing on each little shiny new object that comes out with a little catchy name, we lose sight further and further of that big picture.
Because at home, our attention span is somewhat limited. We've all got busy lives, and so we're like, oh, here's a news conference. Oh, this is going to be the solution now. And we focus on that for a few months, and then nothing changes, and then there's another new one. And
exactly. And what I encourage people to do is take that step back. In thinking about homelessness, what we want to see, it's three pillars. Like I said, it's prevention, has its ecosystem of strategies, shelter has its ecosystem of strategies, and housing. Those are the three components of a plan to address homelessness. And instead of working on parts piecemeal of each of these, some cohesive body should be putting those together.
Because then there could be accountability too.
Well,
right?
That's a whole other thing as well, is we don't have the structure to create a plan, and absent a plan, we don't have accountability for any of the pieces of it. So, how many shelter beds do we actually need? We don't know, because we don't know how many people are living unsheltered. We don't know what they need. Could they be served best by motels? Most expensive, least sort of bang for your buck. Some people need motels, but most people do not. What's the option that can serve the most people most effectively? We don't know what people need, who they are, how many, so we can't even put that in place right now.
Okay, but to push back just for a moment, there's this point in time count. Isn't that when we find out how many there are?
No. The point in time count is not an actual accurate measure of really anything about who's living outside. It's a snapshot. It's like a vague stab in the dark, and you can look at it over time to compare, but what it does, it goes to the places where you generally know people already are who are in the system. We reach out a little bit to those people and ask them questions. What it doesn't get to are all the people we don't know who they are. So there are people, and I volunteer with Portland Street Medicine, so I go out to places who say they've never had any outreach worker come talk to them. They're in places that are not in the central city or places outreach goes to. No one counts those people who we desperately need to know who they are. And then even people we do count, if you're passed out, if you are, psychotic, if you're just feeling angry and depressed, don't want to talk to someone, or agitated, no one's going to go up and count you. And so the people who are most in need of counting aren't counted.
I don't know about you, but that sort of leaves me angry and depressed, I think. After all this time and all this money, we're still not getting a good sense of who is on our streets. But my conversation with Commissioner Meieran is not all bad. After this break, we'll share why she is hopeful that things will change, thanks to a program that she says has proven effective across the country.